The Cherry Hill School in El Paso, Texas, is a Reggio Emilia-inspired project-based first through fifth grade Jewish microschool that was founded in 2020. Joining me today to talk more about Cherry Hill and its learner-centered educational philosophy is Meg Burke, head of school curriculum at the Cherry Hill School. Prior to joining Cherry Hill, Meg spent 36 years as a public school educator in the El Paso School District. Her first 28 years were spent as a classroom teacher before shifting to program design and teacher training for her final 8 years with the district. And then she retired from the public schools to work for about 8 years at the University of Texas at Austin before joining Cherry Hill. Meg Burke, welcome to the Liberated Podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I'm so glad you're here. I just love this story of this microschool that's continuing to grow. You launched in 2020, of course, such a turbulent time in education with the COVID pandemic, and you continue to grow. You have first through fifth grade levels right now, but continue to add grades every year. And it's just great to see that kind of momentum for this Reggio Emilia-inspired project-based learning environment in El Paso. So we'll talk a little bit more about Cherry Hill's origin story, and you can share with us kind of what's transpired over the past 4 years there. But I'd love to start, Meg, with your experience in public education, particularly your 28 years spent as a classroom teacher in the public schools. And just I'd love to just hear your reflections of that. What were sort of the ups and downs of that experience? And especially, what did you notice in terms of changing educational trends over those nearly 3 decades of teaching?
Well, um, I was really blessed. I worked for 28 years and I was at the same school for 28 years in the same
Wow.
grade. So I really was part of that whole community. It was a school in South El Paso. Many of the parents, many of the children spoke Spanish. So I did learn to speak Spanish there, although my Spanish is not very good. I think because I was in that position for such a long time, I was asked to do things for the district that were just incredible and made an impact on me and the administrator that I am today. I was fortunate to work under three of my principals during that time were incredible leaders, and they believed in their teachers, and they let us try things and do things that might not normally happen. And I think that's probably a big difference between then and now. Everything is so prescribed in the public schools right now. And you have to follow a curriculum. We had the option to pull from many resources and to kind of create what was best. Sorry, I am sorry about my phone. But during that time, I joined a curriculum writing team for the district. That was when I first began my curriculum writing, which I have loved since then. We also designed a learning continuum of skills, which took the place of a report card for our youngest learners. So that was quite an accomplishment. It took us a long time to do that, and it was kind of out of the box, stepping away from grading kids at such a young age, at the kindergarten age. I got to do a pilot program called Writing to Read. It was an IBM program back in 1986. There were not a lot of computers in the classroom. This was an introduction of computers for our youngest children right away. So that was pretty amazing, and I was picked to be IBM Teacher of the Year that year. So that was
Wow. So you really saw the beginning of computers and digital technology in the classroom. That must have been exciting and certainly a
It
big
was
change
exciting. It was
over your
exciting.
career.
We had these big old computers, huge computers. And I think back about that time, it wasn't that long ago, and how far we've come, and how I look at how my teachers use that technology every day. So, but I think the most incredible thing for me during those 28 years was the opportunity to be involved in one of the first dual language education programs in El Paso, Texas. So my co-teacher and I had 40 children. We had 20 Spanish speakers and 20 English speakers. And I think during that time, I became very purposeful in my delivery of instruction, and in the way I had children process information. That has really stayed with me, because when you have 40 little bodies in a room together, you've got to be super organized. I think the other benefit was that team teaching aspect. So I always had someone to talk to about what went well, what didn't go well in the classroom. We spent hours. She was as dedicated as I was, and that was wonderful to have a partner like that, because we learned from each other. And those experiences have stayed with me. The training we received, the things that we tried, I share with my teachers now.
Yeah. So,
So,
Meg, you talked about, again, the sort of dramatic technological change and innovation over those nearly 30 years in the classroom. And you were a kindergarten teacher, you said,
right,
for that whole time, which is
right.
just so amazing, working with little ones. And yet you did allude to the fact that kind of over that period of time, the curriculum in some cases has become more prescribed, maybe even more
Absolutely.
standardized. So for all of this innovation and progress, especially in the world around us and with technology, there's sort of a doubling down in some cases of standardization. And I have seen that and talked to other educators, particularly at the kindergarten level, who, recognized that change over time. If I think about, for example, and you're probably familiar with this study too, of University of Virginia researchers who polled teachers and found that in 1998, only about 30% of kindergarten teachers expected kids to be reading at the end of kindergarten. And just 12 years later, by 2010, 80% of teachers said that children should be reading at the end of kindergarten. And so, all that had really changed during that time was sort of the standards, not the kids necessarily. I'm curious if you
No, kids
saw
haven't
that as
changed.
well.
Absolutely. I remember the first year that I taught, I really didn't have a curriculum. I walked into a classroom and everything was kind of piled in the middle of the floor, and I waded through that. But I think because I started that way, using whatever resources I could find, looking for stuff, really creating my own curriculum, I never became teacher driven by textbooks. We had textbooks later on, but I always pulled from those textbooks and used the pieces that I knew worked with the children. I don't think our teachers in the public school have have the ability to do that anymore. And that's something that we have done here. We do have some programs that we adopted. Actually, we got through the micro grant from Bella the first time, because we realized we needed some support in some areas. But the teachers are able to pull from any resources. They have to do lesson plans. They have to let me know what they're doing. But I think that is the big difference between our institution and, say, big districts, and even a lot of private schools
Mm-hmm.
are very academically driven, but the path that they take to get there is very different than the path that we take here.
Yeah, so let's talk about the origin of the Cherry Hill School and how you came on to head up curriculum there. Why did the school come to be in 2020? And how soon did you come on at the beginning?
Well, the Cherry Hill, the planning phase began in 2020. We have a Jewish preschool here called the J Center for Learning, and the parents, we had two people, Steve and Wendy Lansky, whose vision was to have their children attend a public school that wasn't traditional and one that embraced the Jewish values and teachings. So they really started this school planning phase in 2020 during the height of the pandemic and moving into opening the doors in the fall of 2021. I was not here then, but two of my very closest colleagues were the heads of school. So I worked very closely with them. I did a lot of training for the teachers here before I came on board. Talked to them about what the curriculum should look like, just because we were friends and we were colleagues and had worked together in the past. It opened as a hybrid model. So the parents had a choice of sending their children to school in person, and we also had a virtual aspect. So teachers were carrying around iPads, and we had kids on iPads listening to what was going on. Much of the instruction took place outside that year. So the first year we had 8 first graders and 5 second graders. And the only reason the plan had been to only open the first grade and then to add it a grade in subsequent years. But the parents so desperately wanted that second grade class to open because there was no school happening. It was all online here in El Paso, and it just wasn't the best experience. So I came in in October of 2021, or even later than that, because one of the heads of school had to retire for personal reasons. So they called me and said, will you do this? I said, I'll do it for a year. I'll do it for a year.
And here you are.
Yes. And I had taken another job as a tutor at an elementary school. Loved getting back in there with the kids and working on guided reading and stuff with them. I said, no, it's okay if it's part-time, I'll take it. Well, just recently, my partner retired. So I am now head of school full-time, at least for a while. So my plans are to step down and just into that as curriculum director at the school. So I'm basically working with kids and teachers. But
yeah, so tell us about the curriculum then, Meg. It's Reggio Emilia-inspired and project-based. What does that mean for listeners and viewers who might not be familiar with those philosophies?
One of the things, and I wrote a couple of notes about the Jewish values because I don't want to misrepresent anything. But the school is built around units of study, kind of global units of study. So we have earth and space, we have harvest, we have light, we have simple machines, and we're just about ready to go into living organisms, which is like an 8-week-long unit. And each of the grade levels curriculum is organized and aligned with the Texas state standards, of course, but many of the programs that we use are Common Core. So I think they're a little bit higher than our Texas state standards, at least more comprehensive. So we do that. The first unit is actually teaching those Jewish values, and we have 4 of them that we really concentrate on: kindness, respect, learning by doing, and community, which is a big one for us. And our day is set up so in the morning we have more structured kind of teacher-led lessons. Now, when I say teacher-led lessons, I don't mean that a teacher is talking for 30 minutes at a time. It's a mini focus mini lesson, say in grammar or phonics or math. And then the kids process through that information in teams generally, sometimes with partners, but generally a team of them are working through that information. And I think the valuable piece there is that it's through that dialogue that they make meaning of what the teacher has taught. Teacher kind of facilitates those conversations, walks around the room. So it's more structured in the morning. In the afternoon, we have a great big block for project-based learning. So the children are actually taking those skills and concepts and they're applying them in a new situation, which is a real test of higher learning. They're able to evaluate, to analyze, and to create. The kids create a lot. And again, it's rarely done by themselves. It's usually done as a group effort, not a whole group effort, but a small group effort or as partners.
Yeah, and so tell us a little bit more about the Reggio Emilia philosophy. This is an educational philosophy and approach that began in Italy, kind of post World War II, was often focused around early childhood, but more and more elementary schools and even higher are looking into this philosophy, sort of this emergent curriculum, child-led. Tell us about that.
Well, they really are. It's based on constructivism. So constructivism means that we're emphasizing the active role that the children play in making meaning on their own. It's not the teacher's meaning, but we are creating an environment which is conducive to children working in groups, to fostering problem-solving situations, and really focusing on those higher levels. When you think about it, learning all those skills and concepts is really at the knowledge level and the application level, if you know, of course, about Bloom's taxonomy. But we really focus during that afternoon period on those higher level thinking skills. So the children are doing a lot of presenting. We had a living museum a couple of weeks ago for the parents. So each one of the 4th grade children was during Black History Month, became that character. And actually, parents had to push a little button, and then the kids would talk about and present their knowledge about that person, but in speaking in first person, so as though they were taking on the role. So our kids do a lot of things like that. They created cereal boxes as a persuasive piece. They wrote a persuasive essay, and then they took their new cereal product to the lower grades. The lower grades had to spend their money, practice buying the cereal that they wanted to, but the kids, put forth a pitch and use that persuasiveness, that persuasive essay they had written to try and convince their peers that they should purchase their cereal. So it's every year it's different because every year our teachers come up with just amazing things to do with the kids. I think it's, in a way, it's harder for them to teach here. There are benefits. We only have our largest class is 14 children. but most of them are 9, 10. So we have small groups to work with. The Reggio part, we take what Reggio does with the environment. The Reggio philosophy talks about the environment as being the third teacher. And so their rooms are very eclectic, but you will, when I first came here, we had desks. And we no longer have any desks. We have tables, we have pillows, we have rugs, we have alternative places for them to write. You'll see them snuggled into a corner working together. You'll see them out in the hall with a bean bag, reading to each other. So we really focused on the environment. And with the latest grant that we got, we have this huge piece of land that's undeveloped outside. And we wanted to take our learning outside. So we're using that money to build learning areas outside. And here, because we're a project-based school and because we're such a community of learners, the children are playing a very active part in that. So they worked in their classroom on what they thought should be in these learning areas. And even they all wanted a raised platform or some sort of a tree house. And I have to laugh because the fourth grade students said, don't worry, we've got ropes and other ways for getting on this platform, but we've got stairs in the back for teachers. So, all kinds of thinking. A common thread ran through all of that. They wanted fairy gardens. Something our girls are really into here. And they wanted a platform. They wanted to be outside to learn.
Yeah.
And I think one of the greatest things one of the kids said was, I could just imagine being outside when it's raining, which it hardly ever does here in El Paso, under a structure, and we could listen to the rain while we're reading, you know.
I love
So
that. It's so great.
It's a huge project, but
and that's the VELA grant, some of
right.
the VELA grant funding. Yeah, the VELA
The
Education
other thing
Fund.
that we embrace from Reggio Emilia is the documentation piece. Our kids are not graded here. We don't send home worksheets because they really just don't do that unless it's for we call them a check. Occasionally they'll have a test, but we don't call them tests, just for the teachers to check on their progress. But we document the journey of their learning through pictures, through anecdotes, and through artifacts. So if you came here, that's what you would see. You wouldn't see individual pieces of work, although we do have individual portfolios to keep track of the children's work that we share with parents 4 times a year. But parents are very involved in the community too.
Yeah, so that was going to be my next question then, Meg. You're at 50 students, continuing to grow and add grades as the kids get older. What is attracting parents to the Cherry Hill School? Are they attracted to this kind of project-based Reggio-inspired model? Is it the Jewish faith piece? What is it that's compelling?
I think that we are different than any private school here in the district. And part of our struggle has been getting that word out. The parents that are here are huge advocates. We work with several professors at the University of Texas. In fact, one of those professors has her twins at this school, and she said, you know, there's no other place that I would take my children for education. But it's hard because we're new, we're young, and we're really, sometimes parents come in and they look at what you're doing and it's uncomfortable for them because it is so different. They're worried about not getting worksheets coming home every day, so they know what they're doing. So These are some of the things that parents have expressed to us. So we're trying to build up our marketing, trying to include articles about constructivism, about Reggio, about project-based learning in our newsletters and on social media, so parents can kind of digest that. The parents that we have here are very committed, but I know that it's hard for some parents who grew up with real traditional education, whether it be private or public school, to kind of let go of that and trust that our kids are going to do well. We know that our kids do well. We give them a state test, but it's not something that's shared unless parents want to see it. And they do not have to take it. It's optional. The reason we started doing that is we wanted to track our own teaching to make sure that we were on track and that the kids were learning. And what we found out is, yes, they are. They don't have to go through that traditional school kind of setting to be successful. They're all very well spoken and they have extremely good self-concepts because we don't use any kind of assertive discipline. We don't use any reward system. We don't have grades. But we do use things like rubrics so they can self-evaluate and so teachers can evaluate what a group is doing, that kind of thing. So it's just the struggle has been to convince parents that their kids are going to do okay here.
Yeah. And you're getting, more and more evidence that that's the case.
We are, and we're trying to get more out there for parents to learn about. And we do tours, but most of our people come here by word of mouth.
Well, and it's a big cultural change from the sort of conventional one-size-fits-all standardized system to more of these alternatives that are learner-centered and project-based. So as we begin to wrap up, Meg, I'd love to hear about future plans for the Cherry Hill School. I know you're at some point planning to actually retire.
No, I won't retire completely, but I am going to step back into just that curriculum role. So what we're doing right now is we're in the process of interviewing for full-time head of school. As I said before, we had 2 people. When it was a new school with few children, that worked okay to switch days off. But we found that it's going to be much more effective to have that kind of administrative leader in place, and then me as that curriculum support 2 or 3 times a week. So that's going to be a change. We're adding middle school. That's a tremendous project. I can even see in our 5th graders the change in attitude and just body language. And so we're looking at curriculum now. What will our middle school look like? What I think will probably keep the environmental piece and the documentation that we take from Reggio, and we will definitely be project-based. But I'm not sure what that will look like. So.
And what about high school? Would that ever be in the cards?
We don't have the space here to really incorporate high school. One of the reasons for developing those outside learning areas is we're going to be stretched anyway. So maybe putting the science lab in the atrium outside, having places where teachers can hold small group instruction or have reading time or literacy time outside or math. outside. So that's been our big push to not just contain the kids to a structure and a room, because they're used to moving around right now. We don't have very many students. So they have a science lab, they have a maker space, they have a library. But I know as we add grades, we're going to have to take some of those rooms away. So that's why we're pushing to develop these outdoor learning areas. Plus, there aren't a lot of places in El Paso that can offer that really offer a place for kids to go outside and learn.
Yeah, and it's so important today more than anything, just with this sort of enclosed childhood and
Yeah.
kids inside a lot. So wonderful that you're building that into your overall education approach to be outside learning. So, Meg, if my listeners and viewers want to learn more about the Cherry Hill School, what is the best way for them to do that?
Probably through email. They can also go to our website, and I want to say they have to type in the
Yes.
Cherry Hill School in El Paso.
Yes,
And our
thecherryhillschool.org.
Yeah. Now we're in the process of revising our website too, because we realized when we started the school, we had we talked about Finnish education. Well, we realized that we can never replicate a Finnish school. We're not in Finland, and we don't have the kind of structure that they have. Their government pays for children to have after school activities, so teachers can have the afternoon for planning. We can't do that here. So we've kind of dropped that, and we're doing more work with the project-based, because we really are more than anything a project-based institution. And it didn't start that way. It's kind of evolved into that. So our website is going to give you a lot of information, but you can some of it, just know that some of that is going to change as we work through the summer this year. We also have an Instagram page, and the teachers post a lot of what the children are doing in the classroom, the kinds of artifacts they're working on, and the group projects, as a lot of videos that they can see. So
exciting. Well, Meg Burke, thank you so much for being here and sharing the story of the Cherry Hill School, and best wishes for the future.
Thank you so much. It was very nice to meet you.